Hi, welcome to Fiberchats. My name is Irina. I'm the host here. My guest today is Priscilla Carroll from MabelsCables. Welcome.
Thank you, Irina. Thank you for having me.
Well, first thing I saw was on Instagram. You have the most beautiful colors. I love them.
Mhm.
And then you were so kind and you sent me these. You guys just check those out. Like, look at that, like pink. And it's lace yarn. So I'm right now brainstorming. So if you have any ideas of what I can make with this lace yarn, and I have two of those, so it can be one or two projects, write it in the comments. Appreciate any and every idea. But meanwhile, tell me how you started with the yarn dyeing.
It goes back a few years. So probably around 2017 or 18 before the pandemic. Let me back up even further. I've been knitting and crafting forever. My mom was a big knitter and quilter. She refinished furniture. I'm one of 7 kids, so she had to make do with everything she had. So she was very inspiring to me, and I often think of her when I'm creating yarn colors and combinations, because she was a gardener, she was a cook, she was everything. And but she's gone now. So in the mid around 2016, 2017, I was looking for this perfect pink color. I couldn't find it anywhere. And I was like, I got to try something. And I started looking on YouTube, like, how can I make pink color on yarn? And I ended up getting a couple of avocado pits, just like most people, who learn how to dye. In the beginnings, they try anything. So I put them in water, boiled them up, and they had all this gorgeous pink tone in it and its own natural tannins in the water. And I threw some yarn in, and poof, there was pink. And I thought, oh my gosh, that's it. And this is actually one of my first skeins that I made with avocado pit. And if you kind of peel it back a little bit, you'll see in botanical dyeing the colors change and they might fade over time. And I find that intriguing. When I first started dyeing, I was dyeing in botanical. So I had madder roots, and I had different, pick the marigolds out of my garden just to see what happens, onion peels and things like that. It was fun and I loved it. And then you start to throw in the different mordants, like an iron oxide or copper or something, and it just totally changes the chemistry of the yarn color. And I thought, this is really dangerous. For anyone who knits and you want to get something different, make it your own. You go down that rabbit hole and you're going. And I haven't come out yet. So, and it's all good. So I then discovered acid dyes, and I thought, okay, this is getting real good. So I started on acid dyes and doing a lot of solid tonals, because I didn't quite understand how I was going to make the colorways and how I was going to do things, but you just started throwing color in, and the rest is history. I mean,
when you started playing with those colors, like, did you have specific project in mind for each one, or was it just like purely scientific experiment of like, how can you get some different colors?
A lot of it was because it was a project. I wanted to, like a sky blue one. I dyed it, but I totally cooked the yarn. It's all felted. I have a few of those still in my stash as a reminder of what not to do. But and then along came just the color, imagining color combinations and using a little bit of color theory that I understand, and putting that together. That's what did it. And then came my whole concept of MabelsCables. So there's a story. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
This is my first. It's a hand dyed, hand spun. It's Polworth and silk, and it's hand spun. And then I knit it It's a cardigan, as you can see, has the buttons. And my dog Mabel of fame here, my corgi, she got real sick, and I had to say goodbye to her, which was just heart-wrenching. But I was in the middle of this sweater, and right at the top is this line of cables that go up onto the yoke of the sweater.
Right.
So just as I had to say goodbye to her, I was at that spot in the sweater, and I promised her I would finish it for her, and I did. And it just like came to me, MabelsCables. That's it. And that was the end. I mean, that was back in 2018.
Tell me, like, between the fact that you're dyeing yarn for yourself and playing with different colors and learning about like what happens, what to do, what not to do, and going into business, like what made you decide to go into business with that?
I've always wanted to have my own business, even when I was, a kid growing up. But I love being my own boss. Ask anyone in my family. No, I love being my own boss. I think it's a great place to be. But I did spend many years in business. I was in pharmaceuticals for over 35 years. And, at the point where I was up on teleconferences at 2 a.m, I'm thinking, okay, is this really what I want to continue to do? I mean, I loved what I do, in business and pharma. It was a very important part of my life. However, I just wanted to find a way to parlay what I love on the other side, which is crafting and making things. And so I decided that that's what I was going to do. And then I started getting better at dyeing and putting colorways together. And how am I going to market it? How am I going to put my stamp on it? What makes me different from the rest of the crowd? Because there's a whole lot of people out there who are trying to do the same thing I'm trying to do. But I felt that, my colors are more subdued. There's something, they're not so trendy as they are more classic, I think. They just are sort of, but I do like to get progressive sometimes. And, like the peachy bouquet that I sent to you, that's one of my newer bouquet, my newer colorways. And I just love that. I mean,
this is spectacular. Like, honestly, it's like one of the reasons I put this brioche shawl here, because as soon as I saw this, I was like, this is such a perfect yarn for brioche, it's gonna really pop. Love it.
If you need more, let me know.
I might. Well, like when people think about being self-employed, they think this, it gives you this freedom to make any decision you want to make and do whatever you want to do and manage your time any way you want to manage. And then usually when people go into business for themselves, they realize that suddenly they're working some crazy hours and they have to learn so many different roles that they didn't even predict they will have to learn.
Right.
Are you ever like questioning your sanity that you actually went this way?
All the time. Like all the time. I think, my business background really did give me a good step up on what I thought I needed to do. And of course, when you get there, you're like, oh my gosh, like I always had an IT person, so now I'm it. Updating the website and keeping that up. I'm baffled at times. But you learn. You have to figure it out and be creative in your own right to figure out the problems, do the troubleshooting. I think in the beginning I wrote a business plan, which is a living document. I mean, this thing changes constantly, but I had something to start with, and it was important because I had to lay out a basis for where I was going, because without that, you don't have a direction. So I had to kind of carve out my own direction. I do the purchase, I do everything. It's from the whole gambit. And if you sit down and you write, a list of the things that you have to do to get it out the door and through inventory and shipped, there's a lot of steps. And I think some people that come by and they'll see my yarn and they'll say, it's kind of, the pricing is a little bit, but when you think about it, I'm not a big box store, I'm not line brand. I mean, I don't have all that. There's a lot of time and effort and thought into executing each of the steps to get, to make a sale.
Right.
So, but that's the fun in it. I love it. To me, it gives me that freedom to be able to make those decisions. And I like that.
Well, I noticed that like when I talk to yarn dyers, there are two categories of like general categories of yarn dyers. There are those who are like scientists and there are those who are artists.
Right, right.
Where do you fall in that spectrum?
I think I fall into both sides. And I'll honestly say in my pharma background, I have quite a bit of chemistry background. So I think this is like a new chemistry for me, is understanding how fibers work. I also spin. So I understand fiber to a degree. I can always learn more. And then on the other side, there's artists in my family, and I, learning from my mom and other people in my family, that art side of me comes out. So I think it's a combination of the two.
Tell me how your colors change over the time. Like, how many colors did you start with, and where are you now?
I think I have up to 115 colorways, but not all of them are being reproduced anymore. The early ones, there were some early ones that are still sticking around that are selling. And that makes me feel really good because they were, just part of my process of becoming a better dyer. But yeah, I'm always thinking now. I'm always looking for things. So this is my prism grouping that's fairly new. And then I have petals, which are up here. They're little flower. A lot of my colorways are derived from flowers and I love to travel to different gardens around the world. And that is very telling to me. There's so much inspiration there that it's just fun to go to, the Tuileries or to Monet's garden or Longwood Gardens in Pennsylvania. No matter where, we're in my backyard. We love to garden. I have lots of flowers and things, Manny's got a great green thumb. So, we're constantly looking for things. And so I have quite a few of my original colors are still in existence, but I'm always looking for something new. I watch dyers though who come up with a colorway every week, and I think, how do you keep up with that? That demand? Like, do you just let them go and they come and go, or do they stay in your profile? To me, it'd be kind of hard to recreate something from a year ago if you don't keep good records or batch records and that kind of thing.
Well, let's talk about the records. How do you record what you're doing? Like, do you video yourself or do you write it all down by the gram?
Oh, I keep very detailed batch records and log books and things like that. I think that comes from my experience. There are some non-repeatable one-of-a-kinds that are kind of like, oops, I didn't mean to do that, but here it is. It just, everything is calculated, timing, water water in the pan, how much acid is in the pan, the timing of the heat, and so on. And I think that's important. to recreate things. So just to kind of briefly, last week I was with a customer who had a couple of skeins from an older batch. She was wanting to finish what she was making and she needed one more skein. And I tried to recreate that, and it was tough because it was a hard colorway. And I instead offered her to just redo the batch because she hadn't started yet. So I redid the batch for her so everything would come in the, in the same batch. Right. And I think that's important too, to offer customers a little bit more leeway with their orders, because it's an investment. This yarn can be expensive. I have different luxury yarns like silk and cashmere and things like that. And if it's to me buying the yarn, I want to be happy with it. I want to be able to stash it for a little bit and think about it, or buy something. I buy it whim sometimes. I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but I love it and I'm going to take it home with me. And but other times I keep things because I want to get to it and I have something in mind for it, but I don't get to it, and and then realize, oh, wait, I don't have enough of that. So then you have to rearrange what you're doing or whatever. But I do try to keep consistent.
When you started at first, you were like telling me how it was like this point of curiosity, right? You just wanted to learn more and see how you doing different things, it changes the color, and like it was this learning curiosity, right? Now you're at the point when you already know what's going to happen most of the time.
Right.
Does that make it more mundane? Does it make it more routine? Did you lose that sense of like excitement about the color? Or do you find new ways to do something and discover something new every day?
Well, I love knowing that once you get that process down and you can recreate things, that you're in a good place. And that's successful to me. That to me means you've done your job right. So if I can recreate things and keep, take this fingering and make it consistently the same in different colors, that's terrific. But then on the other end of the spectrum, I'm always looking for new fiber types. I'm constantly like, I found this, it's a wool and cotton blend. And like, well, you don't see that out there. You see a lot of merino or cashmere, nylon, kind of a blend, or an alpaca and cotton I found the other day. And I'm like, this is cool. I can, maybe put a little twist on it for summer wear or something like that. So, just when you feel like you're in that comfort zone, it's okay to break out of that, and just like move on to something new, because you have to kind of keep up with the trends. You have to kind of keep up with what are people wanting in that time of year. So no, I love getting something down to the point where I can recreate it, and that's great. But then always searching for something better. I'm always looking. I don't want to get bored.
You mentioned the business plan that you wrote at the very beginning, and that it changes. What's your vision for this business? Where do you see it going?
Well, my hope is to expand my viewership, to expand my online business. We go to bigger festivals now. So last year we went to New Jersey Fiber Festival in September in New Jersey. And that was our first big Fiber Fest. And it was a huge lesson. And this year I'll be in a couple bigger ones. I'll be at the New Jersey again. Next month we'll be in Central New York Fiber Fest. And then Lehigh Valley Fiber Fest. And there's a couple more. I'm trying to get into one of the pre-Rhinebeck shows. So I'm really testing, my water to expand to a larger audience. I think that's my goal for this year, and to raise revenue. So I want to expand my business. I don't want to shutter. And I've put a lot of time and heart and soul into it, where, it's easy just to say, oh, this is going nowhere, give up. But, I did invest in making it an LLC. I'm very serious about, keeping up with my demands. And I want to see it keep going. At least for a few more years. I got a few more good years in me. Okay. I still have, my energy level, and I still have everything, that I really want to do. I would love to do fundraising. Last year, a friend of mine who stopped dyeing gave me a bunch of her undyed yarn, and I want to, dye these fibers and donate the proceeds to pancreatic cancer, which is very close to me and Manny. We both lost our mothers from pancreatic cancer. So that's something I'd like to do, is a little bit more fundraising on my own, and get involved in other things. So,
well, tell me your relationship with social media. How did that go?
It's, I could be better. You see people constantly pinging you, and it's all about the algorithm. I mean, we get it, there are so many new dyers out there, and so many people that are really tech savvy, who can do things much faster than I can, because I'm still trying to figure out. But you get in it and start posting, and I figured out how to make a reel. It's just the elementary stuff to keep up with it. There's plenty of more sites. I'm learning about other ways of getting your stuff out there besides Instagram and Facebook. So, I'm trying other platforms and trying to get, with the times and reach a broader audience. But mostly right now it's Instagram, Facebook, and my website.
Yeah. How can my viewers make your life better?
Oh my gosh. Your viewers are amazing. And I have a brief story. When you did the little unboxing the other day, I got a message from one of your viewers, and she said to me, that her grandmother's name was Priscilla, and her grandfather used to call Priscilla Mabel. And I just got goosebumps. And that kind of stuff is how can you make that up? That is the best thing. I love hearing from the viewers. I love seeing finished objects. Like a customer just sent me a picture of a sweater she finished yesterday. And that to me is so gratifying. So if you purchase my yarn, please come back with pictures of your finished stuff. That to me means more than anything, really. I want to make people happy, and bring them what I think they want. And, the rest is all good.
Well, you also offered some discount for my viewers. So
yes.
if you guys want to check out Priscilla's yarns, I'll put the link in the description of this video. And if you click on it and use Fiberchats 10,
yes,
as a code, you get 10% off your purchase. So check it out. I'm sure you're gonna love it.
Yeah.
And let me know what you're gonna make with that yarn also. I'm collecting ideas at the moment. I'm working on 4 different projects, which is very unusual for me. I'm usually a monogamous knitter, and now somehow, and I blame that on Martin from Knit 365. So if you guys know who Martin is, tell him he's to blame. So somehow I'm working on 4 different projects at the moment, but you know how when you dye yarn, right? You probably dyeing one color and your mind already wonders on what next color gonna be like.
Yes, it does.
So for me, it's the same thing. Like I'm working on 4 projects and I'm like trying to get them out just because I already want to start something else. And I'm like, my brain is on fire as to what I'm going to start.
Yes. Well, my latest project, I do myself. I have 2 here in my whip bag. I've got, I'm doing a love note by Tin Can Knits in a silk blend, and it's slowly progressing because I'm sitting there just like what you're saying. I got parlayed over on this other side thinking, what can I do with this yarn? And I got into some assigned pooling. So this is going to be my next big introduction, I think, into the yarn world, is to provide some assigned pooling yarn. This is a 1 skein pattern called Ice Pancakes Shawl by Sassafras, and it's a cute little pattern. It's simple. It's got a little bit of eyelet in there, but the fun part is trying to figure. There's a lot of math. That's fine. I'm thinking I better go back and figure this one out because there's just a little too much pooling going on there. But and that's all the fun in dyeing too, is experiment and see what happens with your stuff and how is it going to look. What are the speckles going to look like? What are the stripes going to come out as? Is it going to make a weird pooling thing going on there? So yeah, I'm always
ask you about your personal stash. What does that look like?
You don't want to know.
I actually really do.
I'm looking at 3 bags of just balls of leftover stuff. I have a lot. I do donate quite a bit though. So this is what Manny and I do at the end of the year. Past couple of years, we've made hats and donated them to local shelters. I also take yarn that I might not be selling as well, but it's still good yarn. It's still beautiful, and donate that to charities and things like that. So a lot of my stuff does get donated. I give stuff to the senior center because they're always looking for, nice yarn. And so, yeah, a lot of it does go to, but I keep things for me only because I never know when I'm going to need it.
Well, when you're planning a show, tell me a little bit about like what goes into the show planning, because I'm always fascinated with, like, I love yarn festivals, but like I can't even imagine packing everything, putting everything together.
Yeah.
Tell me your experience with that.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. There's some heavy lifting that go into doing a big show. We only have smaller booths at this point. We don't have a double wide, but there we have all my racks that go, and those have to get done. I'm dyeing yarn and selling it at the same time, but dyeing it and putting inventory lists together and packing them in the big blue bags and making sure I have everything that I need. It's I always have an emergency kit of things, tape, scissors, and whatnot that you need to keep with you. Making arrangements, making sure that you have everything settled with the fiber festival itself. Right. That's months ahead of time, is to apply to these things and make sure you have, all the appropriate insurance or whatever is needed. And then pack up and go and get there. And it's a heavy workout, but it's good. It's a lot of fun. And the one in New York, we haven't been to it yet, so I don't really quite know what to expect, but we'll have lots to bring. So it's a lot of fun. I also have like little project bags or buckets that I sew, and I bring those to the festivals. These are like 2 little fat quarters of fabric and make up the little buckets. And I did a trunk show at or a maker's market at a local sewing shop a couple of weekends ago. And it was fun because I'm also supporting their business by using their fabric. And that was good. So I like that.
Describe me your day, because like I'm hearing so many things that I just can't wrap my mind about how you manage it all. Like tell me how your tea breaks, and when on earth do you find time to knit?
Oh, I love to. I'll knit anytime. It does. And you know that did you have that little metal twirly thing that goes on your wrist?
Twister, yeah.
I would love to get one of those.
I'll connect you with Twister Sisters.
It's that is like the perfect. A friend of mine has one too. She always knits everywhere she goes. And I'll knit at night mostly because I have to rest my brain. All day we're thinking about how to improve business, how to get your name out there. Where am I going to go next? Is everyone happy with what they have? I worry a lot. So, I want to know that people are happy with what they get from me, because that means a lot. And I'm realizing that I can't make everyone happy, but I sure do try. And so, we kind of let our hair down Saturday night into Sunday, and that's like manning my day to just blow out. And he works hard all week, and I'm making things all week, so we just kind of sit down and relax on the weekends, and if we're not at a show.
Do you feel like you stressing now that you're having the business, or do you think like you enjoying it and living your dream? And is it like, can you separate one from another?
Well, I don't think you can. I don't think you can. It's all how you perceive the stress. I mean, people deal with stress in many different ways. I do internalize a lot. I'll have to say that, but I try to rationalize why I've done things and make them better. So if I find that I'm stressful over a certain situation, that there's got to be a way to come around and solve that before it happens again. Money's always a worry. I mean, you're always thinking, how am I going to make my next gig? How am I going to make my next sale? And you have to be prepared for that financially on the back end. I don't want to lose my house because I'm dyeing yarn. I mean, that's silly to me. I'll take a consulting gig. Right. Back and farm if I have to. But right now, I did a lot of prep work to get the business in what I considered a safe place to really turn on that switch and make that change happen. And but when you get here, you're kind of going, oh my gosh, where were all those consultants when I needed them? Like what I should have known before I jumped in the pool. If you're smart and you have a plan and you have the ingenuity and the passion to do it, that's most of the moxie that you need to get to the next place. So yeah, I worry, but I try not to worry myself to the point where I want to throw in the towel. I don't want to do that. I love it too much. And the whole community of fiber arts is just fascinating to me. It's I followed along, but I've never been so entrenched in it. I was always working in a business conference room somewhere. It's a different life. But I love it because it's this next phase in my life that I think I'm supposed to be here.
Well, when you think about other dyers, right?
Yes.
They're your competition, but they're also your colleagues. Like, how do you perceive them? Do you get inspired by other people? Do you learn from other people? Do you feel like it's a supportive environment?
It's a very supportive environment. I have done some collaborations with another dyer, a couple of dyers, with a couple of designers. Everybody brings their own thing to the table. You know, everyone has their own style. They, but you learn from them. You learn how to, what has made their business successful. How do they feel about what they're doing? And then you just kind of reflect on your own. It's not so much competing with them as it is aligning with them. So, you know, last year at the New Jersey Fiber Fest, so I was surrounded by all these great people. And to me, I was like this, you know, the new kid on the block. But, you know, how much I learned from them and having conversations with them, and what do you think about my booth, and getting feedback from them, that it helps you. So, you know, that I like, you know, working and watching other people, because it inspires me. It does.
You mentioned a couple disasters of the yarn felting and overboiling and stuff. Do you, when you come up with new colors, or when you try the new yarn base, is it usually going according to plan? Like, how often the disasters happen?
Well, I learned how not to cook, overcook yarn. I've felted a few. So I think most of the time it goes well, because I keep pretty good notes on when I feel something coming on, like this peachy bouquet that I gave to you, or like this one is called Secret Garden. It has just lots of the blue in here and different speckling, and you know, how am I gonna put it all together in the pan? Sometimes it just happens when I'm standing over the pan and I'm going, okay, I'm just going to put that big color on the bottom, speckle the top, and see what happens. You know, where is it going to go? And then you get things like this in the end, you know, that it just is
Beautiful.
Wow, that's fun. So for the most part, what I tend to do is I will write down a whole bunch of colors that I want to see on one skein, and then decide the quantity and how they're going to be applied to it. And that's usually how it comes about.
Well, when I'm looking at hand dye yarn, right, I love how the skein looks in general, right? Like, I see it, I love every color in it. It calls my soul. I'm grabbing it. Then I'm thinking about the project, and I'm like, I have zero idea how it's gonna look as a knitted item, right?
Right.
Sometimes I'm seeing samples being knitted, and I'm pleasantly surprised, and sometimes I'm like, oh, like I didn't see it going that way.
Right.
You have like a vision when you're doing the yarn dyeing. Do you see a vision of the fabric you're creating?
Yes, definitely. Definitely. So I do, but I have to admit, when I do start a project, I don't often swatch. I know I don't.
Oh no.
Shame on me. But for the most part, you know, when I go to dye something, I do have that vision of how is it going to come off in the fabric, because like I said before, I don't want some strange pooling happening where it's, you know, kind of going here and then there's nothing somewhere else. So like this is my ranunculus sweater. When I speckled it, it had to be evenly speckled because I want it to be uniform,
right,
coming across. Then I have these other ones that are, and I love blue clay now. It's like my new thing. So, you know, when you have these yarns and there's a lot of variegated colors in here, and they'll just sort of blend into each other. So I am trying to vision what they are going to be like when they come out as a finished product. Yes.
When it comes to yarn bases,
Yes.
how can you stop yourself from like trying everything?
It's hard. You know, I get mini skeins, and I try, you know, playing around on those. And I do have a yarn source where I kind of play with their yarns at first, because economically it works. And I use smaller skeins, but you know, I do test them, but it's hard. I just love everything. So, you know, when I fell into this cashmere, merino nylon blend, or those silk blends, I was like, oh, this is so nice. And it's special, you know. So I know when people come around and they want to buy like some mohair, I have, look at that pink. Whoop. You know, in pink and a mohair, I mean, it's so pretty, and someone's gonna love it.
Well,
You know,
is there like every situation? Because like I talk to a lot of yarn stores, and the thing that I hear very often is that whatever they think is gonna sell, and their favorite personal yarns or their favorite personal colors oftentimes don't sell. Something that they just bought to have and they didn't think it's going to be a commercial success turns into like the bestseller.
right?
Are you ever surprised that way?
Oh yeah, all the time. Yeah, I have colorways that I thought were just going to blow out the door, and then nobody buys them, and I go, what? You know, but in one place it may not. It's demographics. I mean, you'd be surprised in the state of New Jersey. There's so many great yarn shops, and I think I've had trunk shows in most of them, and I'm so grateful to the shop owners who you know, have trunk shows and let the dyers come in. And to me, that's just an awesome companionship. But you go from South Jersey up to North Jersey, and there's like a complete different vibe.
Yeah.
You know, so when you get ready for the trunk shows, you kind of have to understand where you are, where you're going, and even then, you never know. You know, what you think would really sell might not. So, but this is probably one of my best sellers. It is a Victorian rose. It's on the mannequin in the back that I made. That sweater, and I can always expect to bring a lot of this wherever I go, you know, because people just grab it. It's fun.
Do you have a personal favorite?
Oh, come on. That's like choosing your favorite kid. I love them all. I can't discriminate. I love every one of them. Even the duds. Even the ones that are mistakes. Because I look at them and I think, okay, that's not great. But maybe I'll over dye it and make it something different. You know.
Well, I hope I'm gonna run into you at one of the festivals.
Yes.
And get to see all of your yarn in all its glory.
That'd be wonderful.
I love chatting with you. It was like really delightful to get to know you a little bit.
Thanks so much. It was great meeting you and online. And I hope you love that yarn.
Oh, I absolutely do.
I can't wait to see.
Yeah, guys, please, like I need I have 2 skeins. They're 930 yards per 100 grams. It's lace weight. And I have this one, which is Peach Bouquet, sport weight, 328 yards. So please throw me some ideas in the comments. I would love to see them.
Terrific.
Thanks so much, Priscilla. It was lovely to meet you and lovely to have you on my channel.
Thank you, Irina. It's a pleasure talking with you. And I look forward to seeing all your videos and your projects coming. Your lace is outstanding. It just blows me away every time I see when the one where you were standing up on the staircase. Oh my gosh, I thought that was just the most beautiful picture. It was so pretty. So thank you for bringing your talent to the community as well. I appreciate that.
Thank you.